Heyo guys, girls, and everyone in between, this is Rebellious Pastry here, and during a lot of my Q&A Ask Me Almost Anything streams, people asked me about Pastry's character design, and I'm like, oh crap, there's literally an entire story on how and why Pastry is designed as they are. So instead of answering it in the Q&A stream, I decided to make a video about this instead. To start with the story, the creation of Pastry back in 2019 when I still identified as a she back then, and I started with a cartoon version of myself and added some details to make them more unique. As far as the design for the eyes go, I didn't want to go with those simple cartoon dot eyes, but yet I couldn't draw the anime eyes either, so I played around with what eyes I could draw and decided on these almond ones to make the most sense. Also, later on in animation, I decided to do a lot of eye rig when I got Moho Pro, and with that part of the design, it made the most sense for them to have the almond eyes because it would make the pupils easy to move. And as far as my decision on not to do eyebrows, I tried putting eyebrows on Pastry a few times, but their character design did not seem to look quite right with the eyebrows, so I decided to delete them off. Also, it saves me time on animation, so that's another reason of why I didn't go with the eyebrows. And then as far as the paperwhite skin and the sweatshirt goes, it is storytime animation tradition, and I wanted to still make sure that my character somewhat fit the storytime animation mold without having it be too basic. Another important question that ties into the history of Pastry's character design is, when exactly did I start with the whole Rebellious Pastry idea and character? Even though the channel started in 2020, I started out making Pastry the character in 2019 when I was watching a video that basically said everyone who are artists hate their art at some point. So I pretty much took that into consideration and just randomly started to draw myself, like I mentioned earlier. But let's just say at first I wasn't exactly the best at drawing, so it took a few tries, and I also experimented with emotions and stuff. But I stuck through with it. I literally drew every day for a good chunk of time, and by the summer of 2019 I had a basic character design already almost set in stone, but I wanted to try different styles and outfits with Pastry to make sure that what I had was what I wanted. Tried to give them different hairstyles and different everything, but I ended up not being too happy with those and scrapping them and going with my original idea instead. A very important element of Pastry's design as we know them today is the fact that in 2021 I started realizing how I am not a girl at all, and I started questioning my gender, and at this point I decided that I was more non-binary than I was female. So keeping in mind that I spent a year on the Rebellious Pastry design, I didn't really want to make those many changes to them going from she to they, so I decided to do more of body structural changes, make their design more broad rather than smooth and curvy, to account for the fact that I am not female at all. So I used the body structure to equal out the masculinity and the femininity of Pastry as the character, just because I am non-binary. I also liked to keep the hair the same because it made my character the most unique out of all features of Pastry, so I kept the hair as it is. I also wanted to have the body structure what I felt like on the inside. And yeah, this is the story of Pastry and the history of their character design. This is the re-record of our end card. Thank you for being patient with me as far as recording goes, because there's been a lot of things I've had to re-record due to like voice changing so much, so thank you guys for being patient with that. Also, please note that this is going to be the last video that will be ever made with my old voice, because this voice and deeper versions are going to be my voice now. Also, the reason why I didn't post that video exactly right after it was made is due to the fact that the new year rolled around, so I wanted to make sure that 2024 was that year. Ended up being before any other video because of how close it was to the end of the year, so that's why I delayed the posting of History of Pastry's character design, just because I wanted the order to be accurate. And yeah, anyways, I platonically love you and see you in the future to come.